Hello everyone, welcome to Sachii Online Academy. This is Ezekiel Chimana. So today guys, we're going to really focus on C programming on this live session, and I quite coding session. Why? Because we're going to just code some C programming questions. So here I'll just take you through how do you answer questions in C programming. Maybe you're in an exam situation and you're being asked these questions. So the main thing is, how are you going to approach each and every question? How do you put these pieces together to form your answer? So if you try to do it, it's very simple, guys. Very simple to do it, but I think it needs you to just follow it very well. So as we are going to start, I think there are a lot of things that we need to talk about, but I'll try to maybe talk of these things where we are doing coding. So maybe if you are just watching this video, you need to know that you need to first do the basics, and there are the videos that we have already done, which shows the basics. So I think you just need to go through those videos, understand all the basics. How do you do the input, the output? How do you work with the operators? How do you work with arrays, the loops, the if else, whatever, the control structures, all those things? That's what you need to do. So I think from that, then you could actually come to this live streaming. But otherwise, even if you didn't do that, also you can also just uh, listen to this as well, since I will be doing everything that is to do with the basics. So guys, let's try our best on this when it comes to this. So on this one, guys, we are going to begin with the first question. I hope if you have anything to say, guys, just you can use the chat. You know, there's chat that you can use, so make use of that chat, and then we could I could pick your contribution, I could pick your questions, just like that. So please, let's try to make use of that chat. I think it's very good if you do that, so that I will also have the feedback, just like that. So guys, let's try to do that so that we can make use of the chat. Okay, so I'll be trying to check the chat to see what you are posting there, and then I'll try to respond from those chats, just like that. But for now, let me just start so that we could follow, right? So basically, let's look at the first question. Just saying, write a C program to store this, like this one, this first question. So this first question, which are saying write a C program to store 5 numbers in an array and find their sum. So you need to store 5 numbers in an array, and then you find the total sum of all those numbers. So I will try to pick some scenarios that you can try to use on these questions. But first thing to notice here is that you need to store 5 numbers. That's the first thing that you need to do, is to store 5 numbers. So here I'm not going to start to create the new program. Whatever, I have this demo that I'm going to use, this project that I've created. So we want to create, let me just take this, maybe I can just take the question if I can, and then come up with the question here, and let me just create a comment of the question. Okay, so the question says that I thought I could scroll easily. Okay, so the question says that we need to write a C program that stores 5 numbers. That's the first thing. We need to store 5 numbers. And we know that if you want to work with numbers, they are variables, right? And these variables, they've got data types. So for this one, I will choose to go with integers, just because I just want to take 5 numbers, and then I will store them in an array. So the second thing is that I need to involve the concept of what? Of arrays. And if I want to find the total sum of all these arrays, then I need to optimize to work with the loops, so that I could just take the first number to the last number, just like that. So that's how you need to put your things in order there. So while loops there, if you come here, if you see that you are going to maybe take the first part of declaring maybe an array to store those numbers, right? So let me just call it maybe numbers, to be fair, and then this one I'm going to give it a size of 5. right? That's the first thing. For this one, you earn your marks just for knowing that you need to declare an array of numbers, and this array is going to be of size 5. Why? Because it is supposed to take 5 numbers. And then the next thing, what's the next thing there? Then for this one, I also need to find the sum of those numbers, which means I need to also have a variable there called sum, and I'm going to initialize it maybe to 0, just like that, right? So when I find the total sum, I'm going to store it in this variable called sum. And then what's the next thing for this? So for those who are just joining, we are trying to solve this question. Write a C program to store 5 numbers in an array and find their total sum or their sum. All right, so after doing that, what else do I need, guys? Maybe I would need the I there for the iteration, but I will use it with the for loop. I can declare it within the for loop, or I can just declare it here, just int I there, or maybe put it to 0, or you can just leave it just like that. Okay, so this is the way that I've declared the variables. Though you can use the shorthand where you can just declare all the variables in one line using the comma separated format. It's also still acceptable, but I'm trying to make it simple and very look basic, just like that. So now I've got 3 variables. So what's next? The next thing is to make or is to accept the input from the user. And what I'm going to use to accept the input, I'm going to use the scanf, right? So maybe I would ask the person to enter 5 numbers, and then I find its sum. So if you are not going to use the for loop there, guys, it's going to take you a lot of time and a lot of lines that you're going to write. Why? Because you need to write a printf to say enter the first number, then you put the scanf, and then you store the number in the numbers array, something like that. Like here, if you try to check that way, I'm just going to demonstrate with taking the first number, just the first number alone, and then I'll show you why you need to go with the for loop, just like that. So if here you say printf, and then say maybe here enter the first number, something like that, and maybe let me just put the slash in there. And what's the next thing? Because it's an array, the arrays use the concept of index, right? The concept of index, and we know that arrays are 0 base, so the index starts at index 0 there. So the first number will be at index 0, or at the block, or at the first block, which would be position 0, something like that. So if I say scanf there, and then what am I going to take there? It's an integer, so I'll use %d as a format specifier, and then I'll put the address operator, and then the array is numbers. Sorry, here I was supposed to put the address operator, not that it. Okay, so here I will say numbers, and then here I will say something like 0 here, because I'm taking the first number, right? So you will need to repeat this for all the 5 numbers. If you are going to do that, you need to repeat this for all the what? For all the 5 numbers, which is something that I'm saying, please, this is not the best way to do it, because if I try to run this, obviously it's going to ask me the first number, right? And then if I put that number is going to be stored at index 0, just like so. I need to repeat this for all 5 numbers, and after that I'll try to find the sum of these numbers one by one. So I think it's some kind of a long way of doing it. Yes, it's doable, but guys, I do not advise you to go this way. So what I'll advise, I'll show you what do I advise you to use there. So someone was asking that is it necessary to write the statement that you wrote under the int main part? Sorry, for this one it was just taking the question. So this one, it's a comment, it's going to be discarded here. I wanted to take the question to this IDE so that I could see it. So it's just a repetition of the question so that I could see it. So let me just remove it, but otherwise thank you for that. So this one is just this one, it was just a question that I've put here, so it's not even necessary to put it there. It was just a comment so that I could see what I'm trying to solve so easily without going back to the, you know what I mean, without going back to the main IDE, something like that, without going back to the main question paper, something like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is very, very simple. is that what I'm going to do here is very, very simple. So I'm going to try to remove all these things and then work with a shortest and the most good answer to give to such a question, right? So instead of doing all this, what I would do is after declaring all these things, what I would do is to have a for loop, right? So this for loop, what it does is very simple. So guys, I'm going to do step by step until we get the final answer that we want, just like that. So please allow me to make alterations, and I've said this is the final or the best thing to give. Okay, so because I've already declared I, so I'm going to initialize my I from 0 there. Why doing so? Because our array also is 0 base, so it's always good to work with these or starting the I at 0 there, and I is going to be less than 5, just like that. What it means is that, so if I is going to be less than 5, what it means is that this the items that we are going to have here are from 0 up to 4, something like that, like 0 1 2 3 4, which is going to be 5 iterations there, just like that. And those numbers are matching the index of our array, just like that. So here I'll put I plus plus. So the next thing is to have those printf here. So here I'll just say printf. So at the top I just say printf. I want to ask the user to enter all the 5 numbers, something like that. So I will say enter 5 numbers, something like that. I'll say enter 5 numbers, just like that. Enter 5 numbers, and I'll put that slash in there, and then I'll terminate. So what is going to happen here is that I want to use scanf to take all those 5 numbers, right? So I'm going to say scanf, then I'll take all 5 numbers. So I'll put percentage d there for integers, and then the next thing is that I'm going to put the array there. So I need the address operator, so I say numbers, and then I'll put I there. So instead of putting the index here as 0 then 1, something like that, so I'm going to put an I. So what happens is that this I is going to change, right? So this I is going to change each and every iteration. So when I is equal to 0, 0 is less than 5, yes. So I'll take a number, I'll ask a number from the user, and then I'll store it at index 0. Increment, is it now so 1 less than 5, yes. Then I'll ask the user a value, and then I'll store it at index 1, right? Then I'll increment the value of I to 2. 2 is less than 5, yes. Then I'll store again the value at index. So I'm going to take 5 values, just like that, until I is equal to 4. Then if I increment and then I is equal to 5, 5 is less than 5, no, so I'm going to jump out of this, right? So if you look at this code is enough to take 5 numbers and store them in an array, but there is a part where you need to find their total sum, right? So if you can do this by, you can take these 5 numbers, something like this, yes, right? But now to do the sum, yes, you can separate this code to have another for loop, now to go through the whole array and then find the total sum. But why not just adding the value as the values as they are coming, as you are storing the value, then add that value, whatever, to that value that have been entered by the user to what, to sum, and then by the end of the for loop you have the total of those numbers. You have them stored in an array and you have their total, something like that. So that's the basic and the easiest way to do it, right, without having many for loops, right? So here I would have this variable sum that I already have, which is equal to 0, to be sum, then plus, then I'll put the array there, numbers at index I there. So what happens is that now when you enter a value like from 0 there, from I is equal to 0, so when I is equal to 0, so you enter that value, then we take that value that we have entered, that we have stored in an array at index 0, then we add it to sum, then we store the answer in a sum. Then on the next iteration, if I now is equal to 1, then we take that value and then something like that. So we take that value that we have stored there, then we add it to the value of sum, and then we store the answer in what, in a sum, something like, until we reach all the iterations. And the next thing is to just display, right? I hope we are getting the sense out of this. The next thing is to display, right? So that's what you need to do. Someone was asking, say scan if haana problem here chero ndakamuisa pazasi pe4 statement. What you need to do is if you put scanf just below a for statement, where exactly, I'm not getting the where are you saying where exactly, but what I can say is this is scanf you need to put inside a for loop, just inside the for loop. The moment you put the scanf, if you are trying to put the scanf here, it will just run once, so it's just as good as you are not making the use of the what of loops or something like that. So what you do is, if I run this code is now storing the sum, is not storing, it's storing the 5 numbers, but after storing the 5 numbers, it's not, and also it's adding, but it's not displaying the total. So the next thing is to display what is to display the total. The next thing is to display the total. So what you need to do is to display the total. Okay, so how do you display the total? If you put your printf inside, it's going to be printed 5 times. So you need to put your printf just outside the for loop so that it won't be repeated. Just what that's what you need to do. So here, that's where you put the printf there, and then here you need to print the total what, the total sum, just like that. So what you do is just that you could say the total sum is, or the sum of those numbers, whatever the way you can write. Then here you put what, percentage d, because the total is just an integer, something like that. And then what do you do there? Now you put the variable which is in sum. That's where we are going to take the value there. So that's what it is, just like that. So what I can do here now is to run this and see the result. Let me just run this and see what do I get. I'll put 4 there, I'll put 5, I'll put 3, I'll put a 7, I'll put a 8. So it says that the total sum is 27. So we've managed to take 5 numbers to the meaning array and then take compute their total sum and then display their total sum. Just as simple as that. So I think, guys, it's very simple to do this. It's very simple to do this. So please, let's try to make sure that when you're trying to answer these questions, that's what you need to make use of, right? That's what you need to make use of. I don't think it's something which is very hard to do. I think it's something which is doable, right? I don't know, but it's something which is doable. So that's what it is, guys, when you're trying to answer this simple question. If you look at it, I've tried to break it into the way, or into the most simple possible way you can do it. So this is the shortest way and the very simple way that you can do it. But otherwise, others will do duplicate. Others will do what? Will do duplicate this. So guys, let's look at maybe the second question. Let's look at the second question. I hope everyone is following and everything is what is working. So let's maybe we want to look at the second question. And this second question is talking of to write a C program that defines a structure for storing student details, name, age, marks, and display all those things, right? So if you want to do this question, I think you need to look at what does this question want. What does this question really demands you, right? So the first thing to notice is that there is the involvement of what you call structures. There is the involvement of structures there. So you need to make use of those of those structures, right? So when you want to use the structures, I think there is a lot of things which are involved there, right? So you need to know, how do you declare structure, how do you create a structure, something like that. And then from that as well, you need now to understand the whole thing, right? So here you want to define a structure for storing student details. That's the first thing, right? And you need to store only name, age, and marks. And after that, you just need to display them. Just as simple as that. I don't think it's something which is difficult to do there, but let's try to have this. Let's try to have this, right? The best way we can do. So I'm trying to assist someone who is trying to join. Let me see if I can have the best way that I can have. Okay, so guys, those who have managed to join, maybe you can tell others how to join as well. Maybe it can save me some time to go and look at it and try to respond. Okay, but now we are looking at this question, right, which is asking you, how do you define a structure for storing student details? So here we are not going to look at the number of students that we are going to store, but we are just going to store one student, creating a structure which is ready to store many students, but we're just going to store one student, and then we display those details for that student. I don't think it's a challenging thing to do, but what it needs now is also to understand how best can you come up with this solution, right? So allow me to take all these things out. Allow me to take all these things out. So what you need to understand is, when you are creating structures, right, when you are creating structures, the first thing is, where do you create that structure? Where do you create that structure? Normally you create the structure at the global space here at the top, not inside the main function, right? That's what we have agreed. So normally we use the struct keyword to create a structure, right? And what we need to do, we want to store this the student details. So let me name the structure student, just like this. And what's the next thing? You open these blocks for a structure, and you need to terminate. These are almost the only blocks that you can terminate, right? When you are creating a structure, you need to put this termination, otherwise you run into an error. That's the thing to look at there. That's the thing to notice there. And then after that, what you need to do now is to put what you are supposed to collect about the student, something like that. So that's the other thing that you need to look at, right? So if you look at it, we're asked to take name, age, and marks, right? So I'm going to have a character array, whatever, a character array of and I'm going to make it name. Why? Because normally in C programming we do not have strings, right? We have it as a library, you can import it, whatever, something like that. But normally when you use standard library C, you use arrays of characters to come up with a string, something like that, right? So the next thing that I'm going to take is age, and then the next thing that I'm going to take are marks. Normally I'll put a double or a float there for marks. Why? Because these are decimal numbers most of the time, or they can be decimal numbers, something like that. So after doing this, now I have a structure, or this user defined data structure here, this called the student. So in other words, now I can create a variable of the structure student type, something like that, right? And then what I will do is, now I will use that student that I have created, or that structure that I have declared inside my main, to store the names and age and the marks there. And then after that I would print that, right? And because I'm not going to take multiple students, there's no need of me to go for loops, right? What I just need is to write the code, because I've just write it once and then run it there, just like that, boom, then I'll be done. So that's what I will be doing there. I don't think it's something that which is more challenging there to do that. So what I will do is to look at struct there here, the way you declare a variable. So it will be struct, the struct keyword first, and then you say student as it is here, like this struct student, and after that you need to give the name of the variable. So here you can put any name here, s1 whatever, any name that you want to give for this variable. But remember, this variable that we have here, have got fields, have got the name, have got age, have got marks. So take this one as a structure there, which is capable to take the student details, right? So take this variable as you as a student, right? And you have a name, and you have age, and you have marks, something like that. So that's what we have here. So this s have got those fields. So the next thing is to print to screen, to say enter name for this student, something like that. So I'll say print f. If you want to print, the next thing that comes in your mind is the printf, because that's what you use to print, right? So you say print, and then here, because it's a string, I'm going to put %s, and then I'll put the variable where I want to store. So because I want to store it in s, but here I use the dot operator to access the members or the elements of this structure, which is all these things. If I want to access the name, the age, or the mark, I'll use the dot operator. If I say dot, you see that I'll get age there, I'll get marks there, I'll get name. So because I want the name, I can just say enter, or can just say s dot name. So I left the address operator here. There's need of the address operator, and then I'll terminate here, something like this. So in other words, not sorry, I'm printing, sorry, I'm thinking of a scanf. I'm sorry for that. I need to take this out. I'm sorry for that. It's printf. I've just said to I'm just supposed to say enter name. I'm sorry for that. It's just enter name there, and then I'll just put a slash in there. I'm sorry for that. I was really focusing on the issue of taking the name, so I think I over explained it. So what I need to do is have a scanf here. Sorry, save to scanf, just like that. So let me just paste this thing like what I've done before. So this is what you need to do here. So it will display enter name, then it will use scanf to pause and take the name, right? So let me compare and see if the code is running very well. I'm not yet taking the marks and something like that, so I'm saying Ezekiel. So boom. So what it does is taking that and store it in this student name, something like that. And then the next thing is to take the age. So what I'm going to do is to print the same thing, right? So if you are not using some loops, whatever, for this one doesn't require loops though. So you'll be repeating the code. So here I'll say printf, sorry, enter age here. I'll ask you to enter age. I'll put the slash in there. I'll terminate, and then I'll say scanf to take the age, and then here I'll say percentage, because it's age, I will use %d there, and then I'll put the address operator, and then I'll say s dot age, something like this, and then I'll terminate. The next thing is to take what? Is to take the marks, right? So I'll say scanf, I'll say printf again, something like this. So that's what it is, right? So I'll say enter marks, yes, something like this, and then I'll terminate. Sorry, I'll terminate here, then I'll say scanf. So guys, this is very, very simple if you are working with this. So here, let me just say, instead of this, because it's marks, I'll say %f, because it's a float, sorry, it's a float data type, and here I'll put marks, just like that. All right, and then I'll terminate. So what's the next thing? The next thing is to print these details, right? So I can run this and take all these details, but I need to print them. That's the next thing. So the next part is to print. So instead of printing one by one, I can just put all these things in one printf statement. But otherwise, you can have 3 printf statements to print those details, but I'm trying to put maybe only to printf to say details below whatever, something like that, and then I'll run that. I think that was the requirement to display them. So let me just come here and print those things. So how do you print? I'll say print if, then in here I would want to say that maybe I want to say student details, something like this, student details, and then I'll put a slash n there, and then what follows is a printf to print the actual details, something like that. So I'm skipping a line to make it a little better clear to you so that you could see. So printf, so if you have anything that you need to ask, please use that chat and then I'll respond to you. So let's make use of that, chat. I also put that address, say scanf anaprochero ndakamuisa, but I also put that address operator. Okay, so the address operator, guys, please you make use of the you make use of the address operator whenever you are working with the scanf, not with the printf. I think that's what you need to look at as well. Also put the address, sorry, on the iterating. Can I do this I plus 1? Yes, you can use that as well, but you need to say I is equals to I plus 1. You can do that, but whenever you are iterating, I'm reading the comments there, so whenever you are iterating, please guys, do not just say I plus 1, but you can write I is equals to I plus 1 on the iteration part or on the increment part. Otherwise, just write I plus plus as a shorthand. It will help you. Anyway, I was just checking if there is something that I am missing from the live chat. Okay, so now let's make use of this, right? Let's make use of this statement where I wanted to print everything, right? So I'm going to start with the name, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say name, just like that, and then I will say percentage s, right? And then what I will do is, because now I have the name and the what, and this placeholder where the name, the actual name is going to come. The next thing is I'll put a slash and I'll jump a line, right? And then I'll put age, just like that, and then after that I'll put percentage d, because age is what, it's an integer, right? And then because now I have got age on the next line and its value, then I'll put a slash and again, like I will escape a line, and then I'll do for marks, right? So I'll say marks, just like this, and then because marks are float, I'll put this percentage, and you can say if I want it to two decimal places, because it have got decimal, it have got decimals, can say percentage then dot 2 to specify the number of numbers that you want afterward, after a comma, and then after that I'll put whatever I want, but this is the last thing. So let me just put a slash n there, so the backslash n there to skip a line, maybe just in case there's something that I'll add on next. And then the next thing is now to match these placeholders with their variables, right? And the first thing is the what, is the string, which is the name. So I say s dot name, right? And then the next thing, so you put them as comma separated. So the next thing is to put the age, right? So the next thing is to put, after the age, is to put the marks, s dot marks, something like that, then blah, then I think you are good to go. Let me see if I've got a termination at the end of this line. No, I do not have. So if I run this, let me try to run this and see if I put all the details and see what I'm going to get. Okay, so let me say Ezekiel, and maybe he's 8 years of old, right? And the max maybe is 75 there. Then I'll get here student details, I'll get the name Ezekiel, the age, as well as the marks, just like that. So that's how you can simply do this. But please look at this, guys. This one's it's a long thing here, so you can actually do it using separated printf statements, right, instead of doing this. So the simpler way to do it, though you write a lot of things there, is just to print like this part here. You take this first part, you print the name. Like here you say print f. Let me just write it, I don't think it will consume much of our time. Print f here, I will say name, then I will say percentage s, something like that. And then what do I do there? I'll skip a line, and then here I'll say s dot name, something like that, and then I'll terminate. So I will do the name for, I will do the same for what, so I will remove all this. The easiest way to do it, so I will do print f so that it will be easier for you. I will say the next thing is what is age, your age. Sorry, I need to put those codes, age. So it's up to you to make a choice here, but I think this one, this way it's a little bit clear and smarter and easier to write, something like that. So you put percentage d there, and then you put a slash n at the end, and then you put s dot this is age, right? So you terminate. So the next thing is to print f, right? Having to put the marks there, so you say marks, and then percentage. So here you say this, I think I've explained what does that mean. Then slash n if it's necessary, but here it's no longer necessary. So you say s dot marks, something like this, and then you terminate. Run this again, putting the same details like what we've done. If I do remember, it was Ezekiel, they said maybe it's 8 years of maybe 75 is marks, and then you see boom, we get the good results there, student details, and that's what it is. So that's how you can make use of structures. I think it's very simple and very straightforward. So that's how you can make use of these things, right? So please guys, let's make it is for us, let's make it is for us, just like that, so that things will be easier, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the next question. So if there's anything that you need, guys, please just put your comment there and ask whatever you want to ask, so that I would know where you need help. If you need help, also I would know where there's need of putting much more explanation, but otherwise that's how you can do that. All right, so now let's look at this question now, which says write a C program to find the largest of 3 numbers entered by the user. All right, so if you are being asked to do this, you want to find the largest of 3 numbers entered by the user. The first thing to think of is, what do I need, right? So if you look at this, you need to take 3 numbers from the user, right? Before even thinking of doing whatever or find how can I find the largest number of these 3 numbers, the first thing is you need to take 3 numbers, and after that you need to take this from the users, and after that you need to find its largest and maybe display what its largest, something like that. So that's what you need to do there. I don't think it's something that which is very I don't think it's something that you can, I don't think something which is hard there. So there's someone which is asking, say, what about using fgets on characters rather than scanf on characters? Yes, as well, you can use that as well, but it's very simple again to work with the array, the character array. And I think you'd appreciate me if you're going to do, how do you call it, if you're going to do data structures later on. So I think it's very important if you get used to those basics, understand how do you work with the strings in C, how do you create strings with the C at such basic level. Why? Because we know that at later on stage you'll be introduced to to data structure, something like that. So if you grasp all those deeper understanding of how these things works, it will help you. So I would require you maybe to go and learn mostly on these ways of using arrays to create strings in C programming, something like that. Okay, so now I was saying that I'm going to get three numbers, and then I'll find their largest. And these three numbers, I'm going to take them from the user, right? So I will talk about the logic on how do you find the largest or the greatest number of those three given, right? And I'm going to, and then the next thing is, what are you going to use to do that? And normally the best thing that can come to your mind, you cannot use loops here, but the best thing that can come to your mind, it's the use of the if statements, right? To check which one is the greatest among these three numbers that was entered by the user, something like that. So let's come here and allow me to take out all these okay, I need to take out the structure there, we no longer need it, right? And then let me take this out, right, as well, I no longer need it. Okay, so the first thing is, I said I want to take three numbers, so let me declare the variables int a, b, and a c there. No need to initialize them with anything. Why? Because I want to ask the user to enter those three numbers. What you can do is you can take all those three numbers at once, right? To ask the user enter these three numbers, and then we store them in ABC. It's doable and it's correct. That's the shortest way to do it. Or we can ask the user to enter the first number, the second number, and the third number. Boom. It's good as well. Why? Because that way, excuse me, it's showing that you are kind of very careful when you're in terms of making a readable code. But that's not the most cleanest code, but it's a more readable and telling what you are doing step by step, right? So I will go with that first, and then maybe we'll try to write the short end of that later. So let's start with printf, and then I'll ask that enter the first number there, enter the first number, just like that, then I'll put /n there, I'll terminate, sorry, I've terminated, you have to terminate here, and then I'll put a scanf there. Then I'll say because it's an integer, %d, the address operator, and I'll put a there, and then I have to repeat this. That's where I've said that you can make a shorthand out of this. So I have to repeat this again for what? For b. So I need to take the second number, something like that. So enter the first number here, I'll take the second number, and I'll store the result in what? In b, something like this, and then I'll repeat the same thing to take the third number and store the result in C, something like this. So this is the third number. So this is some kind of what you can do, though you can shorten this. One scanf and one printf is enough to take three numbers, right? So I demonstrate on that later on. So here I've now successfully asked the user to enter those three numbers and able to capture them, and stores the numbers in A, B, and C. So if I put 3, 5, maybe, and a 2 there, so now the next thing is now to find the largest, right? Something like that. Which one is the largest? So please guys, you need to know, what if you are going to be asked to find the smallest as well? So you need to just know, how can I twist this? So I think it's now to twist the logic. If you want to find the smallest, and when you find when you want to find the largest, right? So if you are given three numbers, right, if you want to find their largest, you can check if A is greater than or equal to B and greater than or equal to C. What it means is that A is the largest, right? If A is greater than B and greater than C, then it means A is what? Is the largest number, right? And then the second thing is that you check if B is greater than A and greater than C. So if there is that part where B is greater than 1, where B is greater than A and greater than C, it means that B is the what? It's the largest number there. right? And then if it happens that B is not greater than or equal to A and B is not greater than or equal to C, what it means that C is the largest. Why? Because A failed to be the largest number, because we compared it with B and C, and we compared B with A and C. What it means that C is only the largest number there, right? Something like that. So what you need to do is to have an if statements and then followed by an else if, then maybe an else there. So what you need to do is to have a if, then what you do is to put there if A, or maybe what is very important is to have the structure first, and then you come here if A is greater than or equal to B, and use this AND operator, this logical AND operator, and then we check if now A is greater than what or equal to C, just like that, right? So this one tells us that A is the what? A is the largest, something like that, just like that. It's that hard to do, so you need to print F that A is the what? You need to print F that A is the largest, or you can just say largest number is, or something like that, whatever you can write there, something like that. Or you can say largest number is, so largest number is, and then you put the percentage D there, and then here we put A there because A is the what? Is the largest there. Maybe let me put a slash n just in case there's something that I want to that comes there later. And then the next thing you have an else if. Why else if? Because we want to compare these on one go. We want to say if this fail, then do this comparison and then do whatever, something like that, right? If you try to put the chain of if, what happens is that it will run this and then it will run the next, it will run the next if, something like that. So we want to compare this and only one, and only run the one which is what, which is correct out of all those if out of those conditions that we have put. So I'm going to have if B is greater than or equal to A, and sorry, I need to put the end there, and if B is greater than or equal to C, then I will say that, let me just take this one, the largest is, and then I'll take, I forgot to terminate here. I think here I'll just need to put the largest number is B, something like that. I'll put that, and then the last part is just an else. Why? There's no need of checking if C is greater than A or greater than B. Why? Because A is not the largest, B is not the largest, so it's obvious that C is the largest. So here I'll put C there, and then I'll terminate just like that. Then let me try to run this and see what I'll get. Oh, where is the error here? It is saying that declaration function if printf. Okay, so I need to use printf, not printf. Okay, I hope someone noted this. So it should be printf. That's the problem of copying and pasting. Everything was now having an error there, so that's something that I was supposed to note there, that I've used the wrong okay, there was someone who was saying I missed your question. Please, can you retype your question? Maybe can you retype your question, maybe to show me the actual question there. Maybe I've missed it, but I thought I've answered it. Can you retype your question? It's a Bisonile Moyo. Yes, you can retype your question so that I could get it if I missed your question. Please do that. Please do that. I think it can help. So I wanted to run this and see the result. Right. So it's saying enter the first number. I'm going to put 7 there. I'm going to put 3 there. I'm going to put 5 there. And the largest number, boom, is 7. Just like that. So that's how you can easily do this. That's how you can easily do this. And I'm going to show the part that I've said that you can also use where I've said you can also use the shortest way to get all these numbers by just saying enter three numbers, right? If I want to use that part, what I would do is I'll get rid of all these things that I'll have to do. Okay, so guys, this was the most cleanest way that you can do, which shows the logic. Okay, sorry, I need to leave just one scanf there and one printf, and then play around with this to come up with three values for A, B, and C just at once, or at one go, so that we can write maybe the minimal code, right? So instead of say enter first number, say enter first number there, I was just say enter what, three numbers. I just say enter three numbers, and then the next thing that I would do here is to have these placeholder, three placeholders like percentage d, just like this. And then now I will have the first number, I'll put it in A, the second number I'll put it in B, the second number that I enter I'll put it in what, in C. So this will be good. So just like that. So if I run this, I'm just going to get this, enter the first three numbers there, then I'll put 7, I'll put 5 there, I'll put 3, and boom, I still get the largest number is what, is 7. So just like that. So that's how you can make use of this shorthand and then come up with this short, very short code there to do what we are doing. Okay, so basically that's how you can attack this question and come up with a solution. Someone was saying hello, say can you please that solution with okay, can you do that solution using for loop? Which solution is your, maybe there's a delay here, guys, there's a delay. So maybe when you post, when I see your question, I'll be now attempting something else. So if you say can you please do that solution using for loop, is the solution to find the largest number of 3 using for loop? Is that what you are saying? If so, now I need to loop through 3 times, and then after doing that I need maybe to check which one is the greatest one, something like that. So I will compare what you have put with the old value that was there. So if you want to use that as well, if you want to use the for loops, someone, I think is this one that you are saying that maybe if I try to use a for loop. So if it is this question, this current question, what I would do is if I'm going to use a for loop, I think it's doable with a for loop as well. What you need to do, instead of declaring 3 numbers, I think I need to check the greatest, right? So let me say int maybe largest to make it, yes, I think I can come up with this solution. Now instead of having this, let me have number there, something like that. So now what I will do, I will need to compare what you put, right? So let me see if I have a for loop, what happens here. I'm trying to think of what I can do without, okay, let me put a 0 here. Let me initialize it to 0 at first, just like that. Okay, let me have int I is equal to 0. I is, okay, sorry, I think the network was I was having the challenge with my network, but I think it's now connected again. I don't know what's happening with my network. I hope we are getting the signal that side. Okay, but what happens here is that the next thing that I want to do is to scan f there. So maybe I was supposed to say print f, right? And then, though I think this one is the hardest way to do it, because there's a lot of logic that you want to plan there, there's a lot of logic that you want to do. So here I'll say enter 3 numbers, and then I'll put a slash in there. So it's like as you are entering the number, then I need to calculate the largest, and then I'll report the largest just outside the for loop. All right. So here I will just say I just need to have a scan f, right? And then in here I need to put percentage d, and then where am I going to store the number there? In the what? The number that you're going to enter, I'm going to store it in a number there. So after you have entered the number, then I think I need to check now, and you go back again to the if statement. So that's why I'm saying, why do you want to go through this way? I think it's a little better trick one, right? Because you just need to end up using a for loop, not an if statement. So now you need to check if this largest is greater than the number that you have entered, right? So we want to check if largest, something like that, is greater than the number that you have entered. So if so, what do I want to do there? So if largest is greater than that, it means that largest is still no, not this way. Let me say if number is greater than largest. So as I'm constructing, I think if I say if number is greater than the largest, yes, I think this way it will work. Then what do I do? Then I need to update the largest to say no. So 0 is no longer the largest, but the number that was entered now is the one which is the largest. So I will say largest is now equal to the number, something like that. Boom. Yeah, I think this one works. So what happens is that whenever you put a number there, we check if the number is greater than what you already have as the largest. So we assume that largest for now is 0. So if you put that number, we compare the number that we've put. If it is greater than this value that we have, then we update largest to have that number that we've put. So you are going to do it 3 times, and after that we report just outside the for loop, we report that the largest, obvious, print f here. So I think is the trickiest way to do it, but it can still work. I'm sure it can still work. Here you say the largest number is, then here I'll put percentage d, and then I'll put largest here. I think it will work. Let me try it and run it and see what happens here. It will say enter 3 numbers. I'll put 7, I'll put again 5, I'll put 3, then boom, the largest number is 7. So I think it can work. It can work, and that's how best you can do it. That's how you can do it using that that for loop. Just as simple as that, right? So it's doable using a for loop. But have you seen that the way I've struggled to come up with the logic? So that's how difficult it is when you are working with loops. You need to strategize to see what you are going to use, but at the end you see that you are going to end up having an if statement, right? So I think it's kind of easier to just go with the if statements, if else, if whatever, if else, if whatever, then else, something like that. If you want to go this way, then you need to be good at mathematics, very well, and very sharp at working with the loops. How does these loops work? Something like that. If you look at it, I've took 3 numbers, so whenever I'm taking a number there, I'll compare if that number is now greater than what I already used to have. So if you look at it, if I put, maybe let me put 9 at first, and then maybe let me put 4 here, maybe let me put 20 last. So you see that 20 is the largest number. So first you put 9, so 9 is greater than 0. Yes, so we take 9 as the largest, and then the next thing you put 4, then we say is it 4 greater than 9? No, so we just have 9 as the largest. And then when you put 20, so we compare, is it the number that you've put greater than 9? Yes, then so we take 20 as the largest number, something like that. So that's how you can do that, is we're using using loops, right? So if you chosen to use a for loop, but you can go with a while loop again. So that's how you can play around with this I think it's clear and very simple there. I think it's clear and very simple. Okay, so now let's look at the next question. I'll try to be quick and fast here so that we could finish this as soon as possible, right? I'll try to be quick and fast. Okay, so let me try to do the next question, which is saying write a C program that defines a structure student with the member's name, ID, and marks. So I think we've done this before, but this now is asking you to accept details of 5 students and display the student with the what, with the highest mark. So I think it's now this one goes back to this one. You are going to choose a for loop, and along the way you need to check which one you've got the highest mark. So I think that's the easiest way to do it. That's the easiest way to do it. Why am I saying so? If you look at it, you'll be taking students, right? You need to create a structure here, taking students there. As much as you take a student, compare the mark, whatever, or taking the one with the highest mark, something like that. Take the largest mark there so that you keep that index of the student with the highest mark, because you are using an array now, so you'll be using an index, something like that, so that at the end you know the index of the student with the highest mark, so that we just instead of going through the whole array comparing the marks, then you just need to know that by the end of taking student details, you also have the one with the highest mark, and then you print something like that. So thank you for the one who have asked me that. What if I'm trying to use a for loop for that solution? I think it have got make it simple for the next question for us, but otherwise this is what we have done. We've created a structure with the name and marks, ID and marks, and after that, what have we done? We've displayed those details, but now we want to do it for 5 students. So what does it mean? Now we need to have a structure array of 5 students, and then after taking all those 5 students, what do we do? During taking those students, we want to display the one with the highest mark. So you need to know that what if you are going to be asked as well of a student with the lowest mark? Now you need to come up also with that logic, just like that. So I think that's what you need to do there. So the very basic thing to do there, maybe let me try to be quick here so that this won't be very long, but if you fail to finish it, maybe you could just try to extend and have it maybe someday, but or maybe I'll just ask you to do some exercise and put the output of your code maybe in the comment section, or maybe not the output but your code in the comment section there, so that I would just see what you have done there, and maybe comment, and then I'll put a comment where you need to make corrections, or maybe where you are wrong, something like that. Okay, so that we make it active, something like that. So if I fail to finish all the 8 questions there, then that's the best way to go. Okay, so now let's look at this question, which was saying that we need, what do we need? We need a structure, right? In this structure, we're going to name it a student because it's going to take student details, just like what it was saying here, structure student, and it is clear saying structure student. Please do not create another structure which is not a student, and it must have these members. Just a simple start. I think we need to be very clear on that, right? So here I'm going to say here, that's where you create the structure. That's what we have agreed, struct. So I'm trying to be fast because this is what we have done here, and the name is what is a student, and I'm going to have this. You need to terminate this. I think we've talked about that, and I'm going to say character there. I'm going to say name, and then here I'm going to give it 30 characters, like a name. A normal name can have 30. I don't think we can have a name that can have more than 30 characters there. So int here, I'll say ID, and then what's next? I need to have marks as well. So I'll say float marks, something like that, because here I've say ID like what it is here on the question. Yeah, I need to remember that ID here that I have is not this ID, something like that. You know that C programming is very sensitive when it comes to I have a challenge with my network. I was having a challenge with my network. It was dropping. So I was saying because I have this struct student s like this. That's what we have done before without this part of an array. So this was only having, if you say s dot, it was only having id, name, marks and name, just like that. But because I want it to be an array, because I want to store 5 students, which means at every index I'll be able to store name, id and marks. So at index 0 I will be having name, id, marks for that student at index 0. So at index 1 I'll be having name, id and marks for that student at index 1, something like that. So that's what we are creating, right? And then the next thing that I'm going to do, for the issue of connection, I don't know if the connection is restored, but I think the connection is restored. I think I was having the challenge with the network here, but I think the network is restored. So guys, I think what we need to look at is very simple. What we need to look at is very simple here. Like the next thing that we need to look at is now the issue of the looping structure, like what I have said. So let me just declare the looping structure. I'm going to have I there that I'm going to use with a for loop, and then like what we have did last time, we have got the largest there, but I'm going to look at the top, or the student with the highest, something like that. And for now I'm going to put it at 0, like the student at index 0 is the one which have got the highest mark, something like that. And then later on we will change it inside the loop. So what I'm going to do is to have for, instead of declaring I is already there, so I'm going to initialize it to 0, and then I'm going to have I less than 5 because I want to take 5 students, and then I plus plus, and then here I'm going to have something like this. So inside here, what am I going to do? I'm going to ask the name, right? I'm going to ask the ID, I'm going to ask the marks, and then after that of the first student, and then after that I will do the same for the next student, something like that. Is that simple? So you just need to say printf, maybe enter. Let me start with the name, right? Enter name for. So what I'm going to do is I want the name for the student, what, for the student 1 or for the first student, something like that. So I say enter name for student 1. So because it will be looping, so I'll put %d there, and then what do? I'll put this, and then I'll put a /n there, and then here I'll put if I put an I, what happens is that it will say student 0 1 2 3 4, because here I started from 0. So I want it to say student 0, sorry, student 1 2 3 4 5, something like that. So I'll put I plus 1 here, and take note that it is not going to affect the value of I, because it is going to say I plus 1, and then it's store, and then print this value out, not store it in I. And then the next thing is to scan F and tag and take that. So I will say, because it's a name, I'll put %d, and then I'll put the address operator there, and say I will say s dot, sorry, because it's an array, I need to put this, sorry, I need to put this I there. So I'm going to say at index I, then dot, because this one is a name, then I will say name there. So I need to repeat, so I need to repeat, so it was supposed to be, so I need to repeat this for every, like here, sorry, here it's %s because it's a name, not %d, %s, right? So what I'm going to do is, right, so what I'm going to do is this, I'm going to repeat this, but I'm going to say here is the next thing that I'm going to take. Instead of this, I need to take ID, right? So instead of name, I'll say enter ID number. So here it will be ID, right? And here it will be %d. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is to take instead of name, now it's what, it's marks, right? And then here I'll put dot marks just like that, and here because it's, I'll put percentage f, something like that. And then the next thing is to have an if statement. I want to check which one have got the index that they've got the highest mark, right? So I will check that if like the marks that we have for this student is greater than, right, the top or the index that we have, that we already have, that we think this one is the one that we've got the higher marks, and then we need to change the value in what, in the top. So top must always point to the student with the higher mark, something like that. So you put an if statement, something like that, and then here I will compare. What do I compare? I need to compare s, then I'll put I there, then I'll say dot marks, right? If the current marks that we have entered, if they are greater than the old marks that we are saying these ones are the highest mark, something like that. So we compare with s, then top dot marks, something like this. Then if so, if it happens to be so, then top needs to be changed to what, to be pointing to I or to be equal to I, something like that. So what is happening here is very, very simple, guys. We are saying by default index is 0 here because top is 0. The index 0 or the first student at index 0 is the one that have got the highest mark. So we are checking that maybe you are now at index 1. So if you put those marks, are they greater than those at index 0, right? If so, it means that the current iter or the current I is the one that have got the index, that index the one that have got the marks that have got higher marks, which are largest. So we change top to I. So on the next iteration we check the current I against the previous top or something like that. So after that you go out of the for loop and then you report that this student at index top value inenge top, that's the what, that's the highest mark. Sorry, I think I need some water, though I do not have water. So that's what you can do there. So I need to go out of this for loop, and then print that. So you need to print the student with the highest with the highest mark. So you print F there and then say that. So here you can say the student with the highest mark or whatever, or the top student, something like that, whatever you want to print there. So let me just start by skipping line there. So I will say top, I say top student, something like that. Then let me jump a line there. Then after that I need to print those details, something like that. So it will be simple. You print the name, the sentence, something like that. So here I'll print F, here I'll print name, something like this, then percentage S, percentage S. Then here I'll take S at index top. Now I'm using top as the index. Then I say dot name, something like this, and then then I'll terminate this so I can do the same. I think it's good to put a slash in there. So now I can do the same to print all the details like the age and what blah 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 blah. Sorry, let me do this. So I'm going to print here percentage D for the ID there. Then I will do percentage F for marks there. I think I'm correct there because marks, they are using float. So let's try this. Let's see what could be the outcome of this code. Let me try to combine run. So it's saying enter name for mark for student 1. Let me say it's Ezekiel, and then the ID, let me say student 1, and then marks, let me put 98 there, and then maybe let me say same, the ID there, and then the mark, let me put 78. Let me enter the name for student 3, let me say Ru, and then the ID, let me say student number 3, and then the mark, let me put 99, or let me just put 34, and then enter student. Oh, I'm supposed to take 5, right? So I'm going to take the name, let me say Rumbi there, and then the student, enter student ID, let me say 4, the mark, let me put 67, and then let me enter student 5, let me name that student Sibo, and then the ID, let me say 5, and then the mark, let me make it 86. And you see that top student it's Ezekiel, and the so I was supposed to change this one to ID, and this one is well to mark, and the mark is 98, just like that. So I think I was just supposed to change here where there's name something like that. This is ID, and then this is mark, just like this. So guys, that's how you come up with a solution for this. So I think with this I could leave it here, with this I could leave it here, and what I could do is so for the remainder of this, what we're supposed to cover, I think there's a lot of questions to cover here, but if you look at these questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post them in the comment section, right? And then what I want you to do is to attempt these questions and maybe put your output, not the output as such, but maybe put your code there. Then you will comment on what's the best answer that you can get there. Would comment on that, which one could be the best answer that you can get, maybe the ways that you could answer it. So the remaining questions are these: write a C program to check whether a number entered by the user is positive, negative, or 0. Write a C program that accepts 5 numbers and print the smallest number. Write a C program that reads a character from the user and checks whether it is vowel or consonant. Write a C program to find the sum of all even numbers between 1 and 20. So I might add them maybe to become maybe here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 that I'm going to give you. Maybe I will add them maybe to become 8 as well again, and then you could code all those. By the end of doing them, I think any exam that you're going to attempt, it will be easier for you, and you will be ready to answer those questions. So guys, I don't know if there are questions or whatever, but I'm seeing that in the chat there I do not have any following questions. So if it is just like that, so I think what I would do is to end this presentation, is to end this live presentation. But otherwise guys, thank you for coming to this live presentation or this live coding session. What I wanted is to try to show you how best can you think logically, how best can you attempt to answer these questions, how best can you attempt these questions, and maybe the order, the way you can think out of the box to come up with the solution. I think it's something that that was worth it. So if it was something that was worth it, please just also put that in the comments so that I would know, so that whenever I do the next live session, I know what to do. I don't know what the audios were, if it was well with you, but I think the audio was well as well. I tried to make sure that everything is fine there, but thank you for that. If it was well with you. Someone was saying the Sarapa number 4 network say, but I think I've tried to answer the question number 4. I think you can also go through to the you can look back on the video and see what does that how can you approach that. But otherwise guys, that's how you can do this, that's how you can do this. Okay, so I don't know. I was waiting to see if there are questions, but if there are no questions, guys, what I can do on this one is to just say that have a good night. For those who are looking, we are using our local time. They have a good night. Otherwise, this is how you would attempt. This is how you would attempt these questions. That's how you can attempt these questions. Very easy, and just needs that logical thinking, just like that. That's what you need. Okay, so let me okay. Okay, so what I thank you for those comments. I think if it was helpful, maybe I'll try to do that for other modules as well, to make sure that things are very clear. How do you answer these questions? How do you approach these questions? Okay, so guys, have a good night. I'm out.